going to be triggering, please look after yourself and don't stay on my account and make yourself be in a dangerous situation. As he said, my name is Valerie Gritch. I'm here to talk about how fans of the Scottish rock band Frightened Rabbit became activists to cope with the loss of the band's frontman to suicide last year. So Scott Hutchison, seen here in lovely black and white, was a Scottish singer-songwriter, guitarist, and visual artist, best known for his involvement in the indie rock band Frightened Rabbit. They got their name because as a child, his mother was commenting that he was shy, timid, and anxious, just like a frightened rabbit. Scott sang about his struggles with depression and mental illness and suicidal ideation throughout his career. The Frightened Rabbit's 2008 breakthrough release, The Midnight Organ Fight, danced around these topics liberally. For example, the opening track, The Modern Leper, which I quoted here, compared the stigma of mental illness to leprosy. The openness Scott had around this taboo subject made their fans fiercely loyal and devoted. They related to the heartache he sang about and the ups and downs of life. Throughout all his songs, no matter how bleak, there was a resounding message of hope that was carried through. And their songs became a rallying cry for this reason. The way musicians like Scott could bare their souls in music allowed fans to form strong parasocial relationships. They were invested in the lives of these musicians beyond just an interest in their craft. That makes it all the more painful when a flicker of hope, like the one they had found in Scott, is threatened by something like mental illness, which is a threat many fans also knew all too well. Unfortunately, in the late hours of May 8th, 2018, around 11 p.m. local time in Scotland, Scott tweeted worrying posts. He wrote, "Be so good to everyone you love. It's not a given, and I'm so annoyed it's not. I didn't live by that standard, and it kills me. Please hug your loved ones. And I'm away now. Thanks." The next morning, his brother Grant, who was the drummer in Frightened Rabbit, posted that Scott was missing and in a fragile state. He shared that Scott had last been seen in a hotel in South Queensferry around 1 a.m. local time on May 9th. Appeals for information begging for Scott to see everyone's posts and get in touch spread. In the early hours of May 10th, the band still had nothing to report and asked for everyone to keep sharing his photo. However, many fans were panicked because where Scott was last seen is near the Forth Road Bridge. This is a place where fans are intimately aware of because of the connection that Scott has to it. On their album, The Midnight Organ Fight, they have a song called Floating in the Forth, which is about being on the bridge and contemplating suicide. Some rumors had also said that Scott had been seen on CCTV heading in the direction of water. On May 10th, Scott's body was found at Port Edgar. This is a port in South Queensferry near the base of the Forth Road Bridge. His band confirmed his death, and unfortunately, he was only 36 years old. The tributes came pouring in, and fans, friends, fellow celebrities, and politicians mourned together on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and on blogs. Online posts like this allow everyone to realize they are connected and they're not wholly alone in the loss that they're feeling. But offline, a spontaneous memorial began to grow at Port Edgar. Fans were leaving flowers and notes to Scott and notes to each other and stuffed rabbits and these double and triple crosses, which is part of the band's logo. Let's see. Memorials like this, according to Professor of American Studies Erica Doss, help to mediate the psychic crisis of sudden and inexplicable loss. They are scripted performances of mourning and managing grief. Even though visiting Port Edgar can be considered an act of dark tourism, it is a place where fans can feel their loss and mourn properly in public and together. But Scott's story doesn't end here. First, we have to go back to their debut album and the 8th track, which is called Heads Roll Off. This is a song Scott has said is about dying and leaving something behind. Because what matters most is what you do while you're alive. Because when you're dead, there's nothing to be done then. Like many Frightened Rabbit songs, this one's a little bit sad, but it's also defiantly hopeful. And it's become a rallying cry for the fandom at large as they grapple with their grief. It's also become Scott's legacy. One way that this song has become to the forefront is through this project Tiny Changes All Over. So there was a fan called Adam Daniels. He started making these memorial stickers of Scott smiling with the beloved lyric, "I'll make tiny changes to earn." And he placed them around anonymously, and other fans found them. They posted online they found these stickers. And after a while, Adam owned up, "It was me, anyone can have them for free. If you can, send me some money. I'll donate to mental health charities in Scott's name." He has donated to charities in numerous countries by now, and he's still sending them out over a year later. Because he got so many photos, because that was another request he had, they made an Instagram account, which you can follow at make_tiny_changes. His highlight of this project is when a fan named Shelby Jones took one to the Mount Everest South Base Camp in Nepal, which is incredible. That's an altitude of 17.5 thousand feet. And she also included the lyric, "A house in the clouds," because quite literally that's a house in the clouds for Scott. This project can be considered an act of participatory memory, which Eliza Potts defines as, quote, "the phrase we use to describe the ways in which people memorialize, celebrate, and reflect across physical and digital spaces. It's as much about finding these stickers in the real world at a record store or a venue as seeing where they end up online." And by placing these stickers in public, they're continuing Scott's public persona, allowing him and his music to be discovered by anyone, and it also allows anywhere in the world to become a memorial site for him. Around the same time, a fan named Abe Cartwright was inspired by the memorial bench that fans of Christy McCall placed in London following her death in 2001. He wanted to make a wee bench for Scott. He made a crowdfunding page in June 2018. He hoped to raise about £1,500 and was shocked to raise nearly $5,000 in the first 24 hours. By the end of the fundraising period, about a month, he had raised almost £9,000. The first bench was placed in Kellengrove Park with the help of his brother, Scott Hutchison, and it was placed there in December 2018. A second bench is being placed in Selkirk, Scott's hometown, also in Scotland, and the remaining funds were donated to the Tiny Changes charity. More on this in a bit. This bench has become a pilgrimage site for fans and friends of Scott. It's a place where, to use Joanna Somalia's words, community members can experience the existence of their community and its cohesive force. Journeying to places like this allows pilgrims to gain contact with the object of their faith. In this instance, it's Scott, and with other fans. You could end up sitting next to a fan of Scott and you wouldn't even know it. But at the bench, it's pretty likely that they're a fan of Scott's. And having these physical spaces for remembrance is important, as it creates a point of articulation where fans can congregate and acquire a true sense of their community. But Aid wasn't done yet. Earlier this year, he launched another project called the Midnight Organ Flight. This was, again, to raise money in Scott's name and memory, and with the blessing of the band and their record label, 5 sets of physical copies in vinyl and CD of this album, The Midnight Organ Flight, are being sent around the world fan to fan. Each fan then makes a video talking about how much Scott and the band meant to them, and it gets uploaded to a virtual map. So fans can track the flights of this album. Several hundred fans have signed up. It will take about 2 years to reach everyone who signed up. The money raised, at least £5 per person, is going towards a memorial bench here in New York City. The plaque that it will have is supposedly going to have a lyric from their song Lump Street reading, "Get together now, find hope. There is life beyond the one you already know. Excess funds, again, are going to Tiny Changes, a charity we're getting to. This project makes a global imagined community visible and tangible. It's something magic that can be touched. Fans can look at these records and these videos and see how many people have physically touched them, mirroring the way it has emotionally touched even more. Most importantly, it allows fans to step out of their comfort zone in a safe and organized way and make new friends out of their fellow fans. And Tiny Changes. This has been set up by Scott's family and officially launched May 2019, a year after we lost Scott. It was also a week before Mental Health Awareness Week. Of course, it seems only right to be named after heads roll off. Of the founding, Scott's family wrote, "We want to continue the legacy that Scott built, to channel the energy he generated in people all over the world into positive action on mental health among young people and to make tiny changes to Earth." Their main objectives center around young people's mental health concerns and to try to help people earlier on in life. Scott's brother Neil recently said, Scott's lyrics touched a lot of people and helped others who are struggling. What we're trying to do is channel that energy and the impact of Scott's lyrics had on so many people to carry on his legacy. You can learn more at maketinychanges.co.uk. But this is just a sampling of some of the larger community building activities, and it's not all they do by any means. Their fans have this thing called rabbit mail, which is a snail mail, pen pal sort of vibe, where people just mail each other small gifts and notes of positivity. They also leave gifts for strangers at the benches. Fans sell artwork and crafts to raise money in Scott's name. Many fans have organized or performed at or attended tribute gigs from small local bands that your cousin plays in to Death Cab for Cutie playing one in Brooklyn last year. All the money raised usually goes to a charity in Scott's name or to Tiny Changes. Hundreds, if not thousands of fans have taken it upon themselves to raise awareness and money for mental health services. These were causes dear to Scott in life. They raise the money in his name and frequently partner up with other fans to increase their fundraising reach. In this photo, we have my friend Rebecca Stewart up here with a little rabbit flag she made, rabbit being a combination of the two, frightened and rabbit. She and her friends climbed to the highest point in Wales earlier this year, raising money for Mind, a UK mental health charity. All of these actions show us it is not taboo to talk about mental health. It's not taboo to talk about depression. That help is out there, and it is something that everyone should be able to access. This is the biggest tiny change they've made. They want you to know, like Scott wanted people to know while he was alive, that they can do anything, that you are not limited by this mental illness. Frightened Rabbit fans took their grief and transformed it into actions that will help countless others and keep Scott Hutchison's memory alive. Much like his music, these fans love so much. They might be sad, but they are still defiantly hopeful. You can mark my words. They'll make changes to Earth. The plaque on Scott's bench in Glasgow features the lyric from the Frightened Rabbit song, The Oil Slick. It says, "We've still got hope, so I think we'll be fine." In the spirit of bridging gaps and counterpublics, I just want to say I know academia can be a stressful and isolating experience, and it's important to remember we are not alone. We have a community just like Frightened Rabbit fans do. This week marks the anniversary of 3 of my friends dying by suicide. So if nothing else, please make note of the suicide prevention URL or phone number. It could save a life. There is always hope. While you're alive, please keep making tiny changes to Earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Up next, we have Paul Zeek presenting a paper by Paul.